emergency. No, it's not a state of emergency. It is a declaration of martial law. It is a coup to forcefully and with the military remove elected representatives so that you will take over the state and administer it with military people. That's a coup. Tinubu is the first president since 1979 that has used the instrument of state of emergency to usurp power from the opposition party. Till date. That is why it's a power grab. There was nothing in Rivers State that necessitated the declaration of a state of emergency. Let me give you another example. Because they are talking about pipeline being breached, this and that. When they organized the local government election in Rivers State, secretariats were burned by people who were against the governor. Somebody was caught with a bomb. He detonated it, he wounded him. They traced him, they knew him, they arrested him. What has happened to him? To date, nothing. Deploying the military. Because that deployment is against the judgment of the Supreme Court, which is an impeachable offense for a president to move against the judgment of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is very clear. No money should be spent, and they even stopped the allocation to that state. So saying that you will unilaterally make a law to overrule the Supreme Court and give the money of Rivers people to a sole administrator who is not even from their state, who is not even elected by them, means that you want to use your power, which is military power, as the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. You want to use the armed forces to steal the money of Rivers people and use it and give to your stooges, because there is no law that covers it. Like I said, the Supreme Court is clear. Any act of governance not covered under an enabling law is a nullity. So Tinubu is trying to breach the Supreme Court's judgment. Tinubu is trying to usurp the power of the National Assembly to make law. Tinubu is the executive. So Tinubu now wants to be the legislature, the judiciary, the executive in the issues of Rivers State. If this is not military dictatorship, if this is not a declaration of martial law, tell me what it is. Because rule of law means that government should do everything in accordance with the law. Which law has given Tinubu the right to appoint a friend of his, or a stooge of his, or a loyalist of his, and overthrow the elected representative of Rivers people and use such people to govern Rivers State? So what happened in Rivers State is a coup, and Nigerians must rise against this. The president of South Korea, like I said, was removed and is facing trial for declaring a martial law upon the country. So Tinubu ought to be removed and ought to be facing trial for treason. This is the treason we're talking about, not arresting children who do not know anything about removing a government and saying you want to try them for treason. This is the actual treason, and this is what should happen. Elected people should be very careful what they do, because power is not forever. One day they will account for all the things they are doing. So what happened in Rivers State is a coup, and should be regarded as that. It's not a declaration of state of emergency, it's a declaration of martial law, whereby you remove elected representatives by force of arms, and then you install a leader, which is a sole administrator outside the democratic norms of the society.
The House of Representatives has already approved President's request for this state of emergency.
In my own opinion, what happened in the House of Representatives is illegal, because anytime the law stipulates the required majority to attain a particular issue, you cannot use a voice vote, because you have to prove that the required majority was attained. Section 305, subsection 6b, if I can remember, made it clear that 2/3 of the members of National Assembly has to approve of any declaration of state of emergency within 2 days. So assuming without conceding that it is even state of emergency, which I have told you it is not, and I have quoted the MBA, which is the highest association of lawyers in Nigeria, that said none of the conditions has been obeyed that will warrant the declaration of state of emergency. So, assuming without conceding, the National Assembly must record that they have the necessary quorum, which is 2/3, and everybody should write his name and sign, because this is like akin to the removal of the speaker, which you need 2/3, or the governor. So the signatures would have to be gotten, and it has to be counted and votes taken, and Nigerians will see that 2/3 of the House of Representatives have done it. What I heard, if I heard correctly, was a voice vote. The speaker saying that they have reached the quorum. And then, do you agree? Yes. Do you not agree? How do you know 2/3 from voice? How do you know 2/3 from voice? Assuming I am in this house now, and you're outside, and I want to confuse people, and I'll say, hey. You would think it's 3 people. Sorry, government business is not done like that. There's nothing like voice vote in any matter that the law requires a certain percentage to be approved, because you have to prove that that percentage or that majority was attained. So I do not believe that, legally speaking, that they have done anything. The law gives them power to approve any resolution through voice vote, and if any one of them is in doubt, then the house has to be divided, but not when the law says 2/3, because if there is a legal matter, you have to present evidence in writing that 2/3 was achieved. So how can you go to court and say you heard the voice of 2/3? Sorry, that's a joke. It ought to be discarded. These people are making Nigerians to be a joke in international community. When America wants to approve anything in the house, you will see people voting electronically. I'm not talking about the one that requires 2/3. I'm talking about every resolution, because the people that sent you to represent them would have to know how you're representing them, and each vote they would have to know how you voted to know whether you're representing them well. How can you distinguish and separate people the way they voted when you say voice vote? No, that is a way to entrench corruption, to entrench irresponsibility in the running of the affairs of the legislature, because I'm entitled to know how my representative that I voted in, how he voted on any issue in the floor, to know whether I will support him again coming to 2027 or in any other election. Telling me that you went through a voice vote on such a matter like this is a joke. And now, like I've always told us, that the legislature has not done what they are supposed to do. The power in a democracy does not lie in the executive, it lies in the legislature. So if things are going bad, and I've written it in my column, blame the legislature, because the executive does not have any power to spend anything except the legislature approves. Now in this state of emergency, the executive has no power to declare it except the legislature approves. So when democracy is going bad, please, the first point of call you blame is the legislature, not the executive. And until we start holding them responsible, our democracy will continue to degenerate. That's why Montesquieu made it clear that whenever the legislature is corrupt and becomes compromised and work with the executive in a compromised form, then democracy will come to an end. It's very unfortunate. Well, let's see what the Senate will do. I will be shocked and surprised if 73 members of the Senate will vote that elected members of subnational that belong to the opposition party, that they should be removed on the whims and caprices of a president who does not respect the constitution, does not respect the law, because a lot of them are former governors. They should understand what they are doing, because if this president is set, what it means is that any president can use the instrumentality of the so-called state of emergency and take over all the states which he did not win during the election. any state that he feels might hinder his re-election, he will just use that method and go and take it. So the issue here is we are trying to establish democracy. We're trying to sustain democracy. Democracy will be unsustainable when a single man will come and decide to chase away elected people. Aristotle said it is a bad thing